This is ZNN, the Zodiac News Network.
Welcome to the Zodiac News Network. My name is Dr. Lawrence D'Antonio. I'm your host. I'm also known as Dr. D8888 on some of the blogging. The network is new. I've been approached by numerous people to come forward with my Zodiac work, and I've decided after a lot of deliberation this is the right thing to do. Right off the bat, I think it's important that people know that I am credited with inventing a previously unknown technique in the forensic science of documents examination. This technique, after studying the Zodiac letters, has revealed a trail of evidence in the Zodiac murder case that clearly lands at the feet of one and only one man. The Zodiac killer is a man by the name of Arthur Leigh Allen. I've decided that I would release my evidence and my findings to the public. In addition to, I have a book that's been completed and will be published in the very near future. But I thought that this would be a good way for people to see what I have done, since an enormous amount of time has gone by since my initial discovery. I've got the help of my reliable crew. I've got Jethro as our producer and director. I've got Stan Donsky as a professional photographer, and the original Miss Congeniality, Marissa, who is our millennial social media consultant. Good team of people. We hope that we bring you a really good series to watch. We're starting off with this first show. We're going to start off with two photographs of two letters that I hope you'll enjoy. I'm going to also reveal how I do what I do. When it comes to science, reproducibility is probably the most critical factor when it comes to verifying findings. If you can't reproduce what I claim I'm finding, then it goes by the wayside. So I'm going to reveal how I do what I do with most of the pictures. I'm going to leave it somewhat as a mystery because I want people to try and figure out in their own head. I want people to try and find these images and write in and say. We're certainly going to give some really great awards to people who do well, and for those who come up with the most ridiculous ideas, we have rewards for them too. Now, the first photo that I'm going to display to you is a Zodiac letter, but before I talk about that, I want to talk about the way that I find the images. There are three ways to find these images. One way is very, very simple. The second way is also, I consider, easy, and the third way is complex. The first way that we have found an image is through just direct visual inspection, meaning no technique was applied at all. All I had to do was look at a spot, use a magnifying glass, and there was one of the cartoon faces. It's hard to say whether the inspectors or the forensic people noticed this face. If they missed it, they missed it. If they found it, they probably didn't understand the significance of it, and so it was just laid to the side. The second way that we find the faces is with the aid of a VHS/Betamax camera. This camera in itself does all the work for us. All we have to do is view the recording of that camera. Now, how do we do that? Well, it's important to understand that a motion picture is a series of stills or frames, usually about 30 frames per second. So if a cameraman films something for 5 seconds, we've basically got 150 still photographs. But because the cameraman is moving, even with the slightest movement, such as breathing, the focal angle of every single frame will change. That way, the camera will be focusing on different parts of a Zodiac letter, for example, and each and every photograph is different. Once you then scan those photographs, sometimes the faces are right there in front of you without any other special things that you have to do. Again, the focal point of the VHS or Betamax camera came into focus on one of the images and captured it forever. Usually this was cameramen that were filming the actual Zodiac letters in, for example, the crime labs of the SFPD or the Department of Justice in California. and of course from a reporter by the name of Rita Williams, who displayed a letter she received from Arthur Leigh Allen. The third way that I find these images is the most complex and the most difficult. This is the technique that I invented. Now, the first photograph that I decided to release today is one of my favorites. It's on a Zodiac letter, and it's over the symbol that the Zodiac used to sign his letters. I call her Mona Lisa. You can clearly see the white of her eye. You can see half of her face in the shadow portion, and she has a panicked look to her. She's one of my favorites since she's so easy to find, and I will tell you right now that the way you find her is through the VHS Betamax technique. She's very easy to find, and I encourage people to go look. I've already given you the biggest hint on how to find her, and all you have to do is figure out which video she's on and do what I've told you. You don't need a special camera. You might want to use a magnifying glass. You should be able to find Mona Lisa with the naked eye based on the magic of the VHS Betamax camera that was used. Okay, so let's take a look at Mona Lisa on this Zodiac letter. Oh, I've already seen it's already been up. Jethro, how long has this been up there?
Oh, quite a while already.
Really? Great. You should have told me. That would be nice to know that she's been up there. As you can see, Mona Lisa is clearly on a Zodiac letter. I will tell you that she has been stamped there. I have figured out the technique that he used to put these images. She was stamped. She is in an oily ink mixture, and she is on that piece of paper. She's real and she's there. This is not Photoshop. You are looking at the first example I'm displaying of the artwork of the Zodiac Killer. These letters are covered with hundreds, if not thousands, of faces. This is serious OCD, and that's how we caught him. Now, the next letter that I'm going to reveal, let's see if it's up there. Yeah, Jethro beat me to it. This is what I call $1 million letter, because this is not a Zodiac letter. This is a dismissal letter of my work from the San Francisco Police Department, and feel free to read it. I thoroughly enjoy it. The San Francisco Police Department asked me to provide not only photos, but how I do it. Unfortunately, I explained to them that you just can't put in writing how I do my technique, and therefore I only gave them about 50% of the formula to find these, and they tried to find my work without me there with only about 50% of the formula, which you will find with time. I will reveal to you. And so they sent me a dismissal letter. As you can see, it says that my opinions are that of confirmational bias. Now, this letter is important. I call this $1 million letter because we are going to tear this letter to shreds. What it is a dismissal letter of my work. The San Francisco Police Department requested not only my pictures, but how I do what I do, and I clearly explained to them, there's no way that I can write a report to tell you how to do what I do. I have to show you. It would be the same as trying to tell someone how to fly an airplane with a written book. I certainly wouldn't get in that airplane on their maiden flight because they're going to crash and burn. And that's exactly what the San Francisco Police Department did. This letter is authored by Captain Michael Beale, and he hired a secretary at the San Francisco Police Department who over a decade ago used to work as a documents examiner. Martha Blake is her name, and Martha has concluded that my work is confirmational bias and therefore is not legitimate. So this is a dismissal letter. You're probably wondering why I'm showing you a dismissal letter right off the bat, and that's because I want to show this letter to you. I want you to see what I've done to this letter, and I want you to understand how my technique works, because it really does. Now, you'll notice that when we were looking at Mona Lisa, she's very easily to identify as a panic-stricken female. That is not confirmational bias. If 1 million people look at Mona Lisa, 999,000 are going to say that that's a panic-stricken woman. Clearly, confirmational bias is improper and incorrect. Now, what's more important is This is what I do to letters. When I see a letter, I feed it into a computer, and then I apply my technique to it. So what I wanted to show you is what I did to Captain Michael Beale's letter. This next photograph here is the very same letter that you were just looking at, and you can see that it's remarkably darker. That's because we took a picture of it, fed it into a computer with an LCD screen. We increased the contrast ratio by increasing the viewing angle, which resulted in a very dark or black letter. We then went in with a camera that has night vision capabilities, and you can clearly read with your own eyes. We can see the watermark of the letter in great big giant letters, and you can now see how the body of the typed letter transferred to the bottom below Captain Michael Beale's signature. If you turn it upside down and use a mirror, you can actually read Captain Michael Beale's letter transferred to the bottom of the page. This is a perfect example of what I do. We showed you the original letter as I received it. You can clearly see that there is absolutely no transfer of ink to the bottom third of the letter where it was folded. The ink is dry, it is not smeared in any way, and there's nothing there. But in reality, after that letter was folded and pressure was applied, a trace of element or ink did transfer. And we're talking, when I say a trace, we're talking microns thick, molecular type transfer. This ink that transferred to the bottom of the page has such low photon energy that we can't see it. It does not trigger the retina of our eye. But once we feed it into a camera, increase the contrast ratio by changing the viewing angle, the night vision camera comes in. So you can now see that Michael Beale's letter did transfer to the bottom. This is not conformational bias. This is science. So from here on out, when somebody comes up with something that I consider most incredible, I'm not saying good or bad, but most incredible, we're going to have the Martha Blake Award for you. All right, my director Jethro is giving me the signal that we're about out of time, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in for this first episode. Trust me, we are going to get better. We are going to show you amazing, amazing evidence in this case. I want to dedicate this series to Inspector David Tashi of the San Francisco Police Department. This guy got it right. I also want to thank Robert Graysmith, the author of the Yellow Book. These guys are my heroes. They properly identified together Arthur Leigh Allen as the Zodiac. I did not do that. They did that, but they couldn't prove it. My work comes in and proves it. And I want to dedicate this show to Mr. Brian Hartnell, who has gone through such tragedy with such dignity and grace, a real true gentleman. Thank you for tuning in. If you liked it, get your friends to tune in and please subscribe. We'll be back soon. Thank you.
Thank you for watching ZNN, the Zodiac News Network.